Private Living, Rio de Janeiro City, Federative Unit, Rio de Janeiro, National State, Brazil. We will move from the point we stopped. Kind of, in my opinion, the elements to have this trial as knowledge is kind of quite clear. You have all information you need, but we unfortunately had an extra situation, which was the financial punishment applied against dishonest behavior. Sometimes will lead to the same institution, and we will kind of offer our model to you use if you would like, if you consider that can help the research. We will check that the first thing we have is this. We had different areas as corporative, government, and the society. The failures as interaction go like this by a evasive behavior since the premise. If this kind of thing had the continuity, we will observe that some areas goes like this. You have the first failure, and it doesn't matter if it's on a government, the corporative area, or the state, but it's always most serious when goes by lifelong chairs. And the association will kind of make them be a unique thing, kind of a bubble with density, and this density we can track by this model with like X, Y, and Z. The first thing that we will have on mind. We can use this to understand, for instance, the quality of evaluation as your property. And the quality of evaluation as your property can bring to pattern as not conformance, and the depuration will carry sometimes quality as criminal arguments. The cross-cut between different areas will lead to this element as the deeper sense of things that you must research. The first research you do is always a cross-cut because it's the method used at the Security Forum Brazil USA. The second moment you can consider the cross-cut in general used for exploratory research, and you can have the deeper sense of things by the depuration of things that you could explore. Then we will check that this will help to understand that the investment saving curve and the liquidity money curve, considering only the situation as trading, and you do the trading as money, which implies the exchange market. Sometimes you will have the reality of your money by side A, the reality of your money as monetary market or side B, but with a deeper level that is the Z, but now presented as a gap that can allow, for instance, the entrance as integration, as laundering scam. We will understand that all things on modern times goes by registry in general, using the cyberspace, and the registry mates will bring ourselves to this sense as deep web scam, which is general change the records by payment. Can be made by the company doing a big data, can be made by the department having the investigation or something like this. We could experience this with the corporate area, with the public area as government and democratic institution, considering that sometimes the judicial power of a decision based on proofs invented and sustained by procedures at the investigation made by the police or something like this, and you can switch and change the situation all the time. You can invent that someone committed a crime and offer the innocence as a market, and you are doing the treason as a state power. It means that the levels of corruption by the Z as density can impact the public area, the corporative area, and the international environment. Like when you are sustaining all things, considering that no one is getting, the codes, for instance, on Davos or something like this. We could have the last conversation that we had, and indeed we have failures at the judicial system in Brazil, considering the most serious fails that one going at the lifelong chairs, which is the judicial chairs. We have failures on America. In Brazil is integrated on Article 74 of our Constitution, with distribution as illicit empowerment, having the source as corruption by nepotism, setting levels as a multi-level, taking advantage of the budget by national, public, or corporate, international in the same way. This is a Ponzi scam. It's a crime, it's a criminal organization at the financial system, Brazil, impacting the international financial system according with the complaints made by the OECD at least since 2018, that Brazil do things, but things may kind of have no impact according with their expectations. Then, in America, of course, that we have failures on the system of justice. It was complained by the Ministry of Justice in the last election as something that is discreet, considering the electoral procedure had failures and frauds and things, but was discreet. And this is the point, because the integration of discrete things brings to a structure that can be raised, by a single command, considering one specific event like the election. But you will have a big challenge on 2028, and if you, America, do not commit yourselves with your flag, with your own constitution, you probably will have the integrated failures in the way we have in Brazil, explicitly noticed and reported, at least by my research and effort, facing all things that I had to face, and bring this accusation to the US judicial system, because the Brazil and the institutions on it can't receive the complaint if they are the offenders or take advantage inside a Ponzi scam. Your failure goes inside your institutional system, America, and it's in general red or blue, but the cross-cut, as we could have lines and columns, will bring to the swap, which is the permutative purpose, and kind of obtain advantage on public area or corporative area. And the commutative, which is the advantage by fraud scams, going by the misusage of your chair at the public department, or having the stamp certifying that all things made is okay, by the migration of modified data considering the big tech, or the new clause and arguments on contracts considering the covenant made by all big techs in the same way, or offering a decision by a judge or by a Supreme Court in the end, for instance, to have the decision of your election. And this is how things go. This kind of behavior, which is the cross-cut between Democrats and Republicans, bring ourselves to the possibility as exploratory, as the depuration, I would say. The depuration, we can have values, taxonomy, and the optimization of COBOL considering as a binary language, that the binary language by single values wouldn't be helpful to get things by the misperception of yourself in front of the mirror, because you present yourself as a respected judge or the minister of the Supreme Court, but indeed you are a crook, a criminal, a filth animal. And then we will check that these values goes like this. This zone here, which is this zone here, is the result of no control at the financial flow by record, by inference, considering the Americas comparative inequity by John Rawls, which is your theory. This can go as evaluation without economic control, brings and carry to values that sometimes do not belong to any society, like the tolerance with corruption and crimes, take advantage of others or have murders to obtain gains. Is this area here. Then we'll check that we could have this conversation in the last situation, considering that your accusation will be systematic and it's systematically presented in the way we had last week. Is if for disclosure. We request the patent, the royalties, and no association with Brazil and offenders, because it will be something as nonsense. They commit the abuse and will obtain advantage by royalties, tax paying, or something like this, or even a prize. I think that for instance, the Brazil's environment do not have a Nobel Prize. They have a carnival all year. And then the accusation is the corruption, the criminal association, the transnational organized crime, the tax evasion, and the evasion of money, setting bubbles in your liquidity money curve. It's the white collar crime, the redistribution of gains with integration, considering the failures as transference or permutative with the investment saving curve as a market and productive system, which is the real side of your economy. The real side of our economy with failures and operating by failures. Indeed, you are switching the pattern of your economy as evaluation to a criminal economy. And the criminal result as economic is transnational organized crime. And will carry this purpose to your institution, and your institution will have discrete failures integrated as a unique event like the election, or the big challenge in America 2028. This is a preventive control against crimes committed since 1988 with the disruptive event since 2014, very critical on 2022 public budget Brazil. And the corruption is functional, violating rights and guarantees by abuse, committing industrial crime, violation of material property, and change the values and the future of your society. And this, for sure, will bring the interest as the International Criminal Court suggested to have the report by the IOM, which is the independent oversight mechanism, if this mechanism exists. The corruption as international threats, biohazard, and weapons of mass destruction if it used against a single individual. The use of a weapon as mass destruction against a single individual do not change or take the quality as weapons of mass destruction, as biohazard. And this going by fake data, considering the dishonest behavior supported by failures on the institution in a functional way. In Brazil, we have the mandatory media as habeas data to protect public data in the public department according with their constitution as a guarantee that you have America to research this credit that you are charged, 33 trillion compensation plus 1 trillion financial punishment. And the events is kind of like this. The covenant thing, the medical reports considering the dishonest behavior, offering things that do not cure nothing, but to take advantage or had the expectation as take advantage, or doing the integration of things that you couldn't have the advantage inside the productive systems, and considering the medical pills and all things. And then the death cause, violation of civil rights. We will make our movement today quite simple, quite clear, no pain at all. We will have in mind that this research indeed allows us to do this, as a financial control. This financial control will have the argument as the FBI. If we do a cooperation with the FBI, we will try to act by their rules and permits. In the same way, if I'm a stakeholder of IBM, AT&T, whatever, I will try to have at least a sense of values that they share. If the two both are kind of a centric company, as 100 American business, at least should be 100%, I will try to have this in the sense of things I do, in the sense of things I offer. But sometimes the institutional behavior and the compromise assumed with investor groups and not the external environment wouldn't be inside the control of this company. And then we had a model considering that we can do the control of the institution by failures inside and failures as crimes committed allow you to do a dismiss even if you do not have this dismissal procedure made, but you have the group set. And we can have a petition at the judicial system, for instance, considering even since 1988 to have a dismissive procedure in global scale. We will check that here I have my research. Here I have the offer to the FBI, I have the alpha. In the second moment, we could check that you, criminal offender, you all as a system is a system of cretinism. You do things by stupid way and idiotism. And you insist on it, and then you violate. For instance, at my elements as research, the Android, the Microsoft as Windows, and you create the interest as Google and Microsoft to research this credit in the same way, 33 trillions. And you are so cretin that you insist on it as a dishonest behavior, and America has the right to research by the judicial power 1 trillion, which is a financial penalty against this behavior. And here we will have the America researching, the accusation presented. And then we will have, for instance, the gamma. The relation between Y, X, and Z is presented as big data. We will have here, for instance, X, Y, and Z. See? We will have as X 0 up to 33. Y 0 up to 33. And if the criminal offenders are pretty much the same since 1988, you will have 0 up to 33 trillion, researching only 1 trillion. See? And then you will have that the first trillion researched will have the entire organized crime as transnational organized crime, very able to be sent to jail. What do you think, America? Do I deserve and ourselves as creditor committee this patent, royalties, and immaterial rights as protection by our guarantees? And considering all effort made in Brazil, all by law and the Constitution, and the declaration about all facts and circumstances considering the cretinismus Brasilis as a mental illness, I told you. So, have a good night.